All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another video for Game of Thrones, leading up to the second episode for the final season of Game of Thrones. And this one, we'll start things off by giving our thoughts on the Season 8 premiere, being the biggest premiere they've ever had. Alright, so I wanted to do at least one more video leading up to the second episode for Game of Thrones Season 8. Of course, it was a pretty big premiere. This was actually the biggest premiere season they've ever had on HBO for Game of Thrones, which is not surprising. The episode was called Winterfell, and they're just releasing the episode names after the episodes, just probably to try to avoid in any which possible way any kind of spoilers or anything of the sort. But Winterfell, the Season 8 premiere, is the highest rated episode they've had for a premiere. It's not the highest rated episode of the series. They did have one with the season 7 finale, I think, and just recently that was a little bit higher, around 12 million. But this one was 11.76 million U.S. viewers for HBO, which is absolutely unbelievable considering it's a subscription network. In most places, unless your TV package somehow includes it, which, well, there are services now that are including it more with streaming and stuff like that because, HBO is so awesome. It's so good. But to have that many viewers for one episode, when it's a when it's not a free, a station to see is kind of unbelievable considering, again, depending where you are, depending on your provider, it can be a little bit pricey to subscribe to HBO every month. So that's kind of crazy. That's the biggest premiere they've ever had in the series, one of the biggest episodes ever. The Season 7 premiere was just 10.11. That was the second biggest, I think. So, but it was cooked for a while, just meaning that, we have been waiting for the Game of Thrones premiere or to see Season 8 for a long time. It's the final season. And, even though, like, online in that, I saw quite a bit of buzz for it, but it's always hard to gauge. You never really know which one's kind of like, which season's going to be the most popular or anything. But considering it's the last season and it got off to such a strong start, I would think it's probably just going to go up from there and it's going to finish as probably, based on the episodes, probably the highest rated season they've ever had in terms of viewership. I mean, everybody's basically talking about it because it's the end for Game of Thrones. It's been such an amazing series for so long. So I'm happy to see that. I guess it sort of goes against, there's a lot of hype for Game of Thrones, but it kind of goes against the idea that everybody is just moving online and actual live premieres will never get the kind of ratings that they used to get. I think this shows that they actually can. This shows that it's possible. Granted, not every series is going to have the kind of quality that Game of Thrones does have, but it is possible if you bring out something really amazing that, you're going to have a lot of people tune in to actually go and see it. And it's not all DVR'd and it's not all Netflix and it's not all that. Still, it's still possible to have huge premieres and to have big episodes of series, which on a subscription network, this one certainly was. So happy to hear that, and happy to see where the Season 8 will end up. We'll finish off by the end. Very excited. So I think most people liked the premiere based on the comments that I saw after, did the review and everything like that as per usual for the episode. Most people are pretty happy with it. We do have some different questions here. DV says, Trev, why on earth do you think they're making Sansa a villain? So, I don't know if necessarily they're making Sansa a villain, but Sansa's seen a lot of things, over the years. She was close to Cersei for a while. She was close to Queen. She was close to, other people out there in the world. So she's definitely a bit mistrusting. And, maybe she's not so... With Daenerys, she's kind of like... She's a bit uncertain about Daenerys, and she's uncertain of Jon's motives in basically pledging his allegiance to her. Of course, that's going to change now that Jon knows he's actually a Targaryen. That's going to change that whole dynamic around. But up until now, I don't think we can fault Sansa for doing that. She's cutthroat when she needs to be, like what happened with Littlefinger, right? So Sansa is... I don't know if I necessarily say she's a villain, but as we saw with Sam, sometimes Daenerys does maybe pull the trigger a little too quickly, or at least she has the propensity, or she has there's a possibility there with the dragons, with how much power she actually wields, that she could become, if she becomes the overarching ruler, that she could become very insensitive to others and just fry everybody who doesn't agree with her, which is, like with the Tarleys, which is, it's a good question. So you can see Sansa's side of things, and she just wants to make sure, I think, that everything is going well. She's seen a lot of stuff over time, so she's trying to question things and find out where things are going, and that maybe makes her seem like she's a bit villainous or a bit disagreeable, but I think she's still a hero in my eyes, and I think she's mainly trying to do the best she can and make sure everybody, kind of knows what they're getting into. And, Jon, he's like a warrior type of character, right? So he's not necessarily somebody who is like Cersei, or is well versed in what Cersei is up to, or characters like that. And Sansa probably sees it as it being possible to maybe manipulate him because he's not that he's dumb, but just that he's kind of a good-hearted, trusting kind of warrior type of character. And yes, he's learned that lesson too, of being killed, right, but himself. But still, Sansa's, I guess, being a protective sister in the way that she thinks of it, right? Danny Palmer says the stare down between Jaime and Bran to end the episode was priceless. So I love that one, man. That was so cool that we got to see that before the series has ended. And that's one thing about Game of Thrones, is that you have all these seasons where everybody are in different places. You have these characters here, and then they're distant over there, and Bran's over there, and everybody was so spread out. And I think it's really epic, at the end here, to see everybody start to come together, all the groups start to join up and everything. And I look forward to this episode here, episode 2, where Jaime has to kind of meet with everybody and sort of gain everyone's trust or try to answer for some of the things the Lannisters have done. Of course, he is marching himself right into harm's way as well too, and none of them are going to be certain whether or not they can trust him, be it Daenerys or Sansa or anybody is going to be like questioning whether or not they can trust the Lannisters because of just the past and everything that's happened. But we get the sense as viewers that his heart's in the right place and he's trying to do the right thing. And it was really cool to see him reunited with Bran again, since I don't think they've seen each other since the very first episode of the series, right? Because doesn't the first episode end and then they kind of part ways and they leave, and Bran's injured and everything, so he stays back, and then they try to have him killed, right? So we'll see how the others respond when they find out that Bronn has been sent to kill Cersei's brothers as well. I almost think, though, that Cersei might have something up her sleeve with Bronn, because, doesn't it sound kind of obvious, or wouldn't she know that Bronn would flip on her and would not, kill Tyrion? Doesn't she know that? So it's really strange to me that she would choose him and send him to do it, considering she should know that they have a history together, unless for her maybe that's something that's unbeknownst to her. I'm not sure. SKM Films, and you guys can leave your comments on that one below as well too. SKM Films says, Q&A, I was kind of expecting to get rickrolled after seeing that little previously on, but Trev, who do you think would win in a fight, the Hound or Beta? So there's so people got to ask, the Walking Dead questions, roll it in, right? So Ryan Hurst versus the actor who plays the Hound, Yarp. Well, I probably got to go with the Hound. You know what I mean? Got to go with the Hound, got to go with the Mountain. And it's not anything against Beta or some of the Walking Dead, tough guys that are around Daryl or the others. But it's just that, it's relatively new in The Walking Dead for them to have to use, knives or hand-to-hand weapons. The Game of Thrones characters, that's their whole world. That's their whole life. So, of course, if you give Beta a sawed-off shotgun or something, okay, now he can beat the Hound or he can beat anybody. But the Walking Dead characters are new to having to use the knives by themselves in hand-to-hand combat, where that's where the Hound and the others, they live in that. I mean, you have Brienne and some of the others, like some of the things they'll do, like maybe sometimes, if they have no other choice, they'll grab like a sword and stuff like that. They just have a much higher level of understanding of the battle and higher level of sometimes maybe you have to grab it, like for example, you sacrifice your hand, right? You might have to grab a sword in order so you don't lose the battle, right? So there's things that they'll do and stuff like that that's pretty advanced that you wouldn't, unless you're very experienced, you wouldn't think to do that. So definitely I'd have to go with the Hound or the Mountain versus someone like Beta. Again, if it's with knives and swords or hand-to-hand, that type of thing, because the Walking Dead characters have had weapons throughout. They've had guns and other other things throughout. They're not as well versed as Game of Thrones characters that have grown up and lived through that their whole life. I can't honestly say that that would make sense to pick Beta in that case. Mr. Dong, I like the name, says, I wanted some elephants. So about the Golden Company and not having elephants. That's true. War elephants would have been really cool with drums and everything. Drums, right? That would have been awesome. So it's unfortunate that they can't figure out a way to do the elephants, so they had to say, well, they couldn't survive the voyage, that kind of thing, or it wasn't a good idea to do it. There's probably a reason why they couldn't do the elephants. I don't know if it was budget or it'd be maybe the climate where they're going to do the scenes is not right for elephant. I don't know. Or maybe it would cost so much to bring them over or something from another country. I don't know. But it would have been cool to see some freaking war elephants, man. That would have been sweet. But we already got dragons. We already got other stuff. We got the undead. So I don't think we can be too picky, considering we got to see all the other stuff. But yeah, I'm with you, brother. I would have liked to see some war elephants. That would have been really, really cool. Some big ones, right? Like some big, huge, even bigger than normal, like some, mythical giant elephants or something. I don't know. Trample people and stuff. Jupiter Crash 777 says, Trev, will you watch the spinoff series for Game of Thrones when it comes out? Yeah, dude, I'll watch it. I'll review it. A lot of people don't know. I've had people, because a lot of people look at me as like, oh, Trev's the Walking Dead guy. Which was never something that I intended to be. It's just, I do what I enjoy and I do what you guys ask for, so that's what I do. But I actually have been reviewing Game of Thrones since the second season. Basically what happened is it came out with the first season, and after the first season ended, people started recommending it to me, and I was like, okay, I'll watch it. So I watched the first season after it ended, and I started doing reviews in the very second season's premiere, and I've reviewed every episode since. So don't expect for that to change. That might be new to you, but it's also because Game of Thrones has not released new episodes every year. There's been a couple years now where it's been like a year and a half. There's been a bit of a wait for the last two seasons. Season 7 and Season 8 took them a while to get done. It wasn't like, The Walking Dead just finished Season 9, right? So for them to do Season 8 now, there was a bit of a delay there in between. They didn't pump them out every year. They took their time and made sure that they were doing it right for the CG and everything, which CG takes a while. If you want to do the dragons right, you might have to take some time, right? It's just, hey, you want to do the undead right, you want to do the dragons right, it's going to take some time to do that. Otherwise, it's not going to look that good. So I understand they had to take their time and everything. And yeah, dude, expect for me to review the spinoff series. Looking forward to Lord of the Rings because that budget is crazy. That should be an awesome series. And, future series for Walking Dead and whatever else, Stranger Things. And we'll see, man. We'll see what the next... Game of Thrones is ending now. So, and The Walking Dead has really lost a lot of steam, which is, it happens over the year. You go 10 years, you're going to lose steam. So what's going to be the next big series to come out after? Will it be a Game of Thrones spinoff? Will it be Lord of the Rings? Will it be something else? We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what the next big series that everybody wants to talk about and discuss and watch and is the next hot property. We'll see what it ends up being. Could it be a Game of Thrones spinoff? Well, maybe, but I tend to think that this is probably the peak period for Game of Thrones right now. When the series ends right here, after that, the spinoff might do okay at the beginning, but a lot like Fear the Walking Dead, after the first couple episodes, probably die out a little bit. It'd probably just be okay. But definitely... we'll review it when it hits and everything, and the usual for Game of Thrones, yeah. Secrett Knight says, I don't watch the show. Is it worth trying? So, for Secrett Knight, you're a little bit late, man, but I'm happy that I can promote Game of Thrones to you, considering it's like the 8th year and you haven't seen it. So don't feel bad if you're watching this video. I'm not calling you out, brother. I'm just saying that, your part of your name here is Knight, and K-N-I-G-H-T. I don't know how you couldn't have seen, if you like knights, brother, how could you not have seen Game of Thrones all these years? If you're a youngin', I get it. It's cool. You're a teenager, whatever. No problem if you're not. Okay, well, yeah, you got to check it out, man. You got to check it out if you like The Walking Dead. You got to watch Game of Thrones. I mean, the parallels are crazy. Even a White Walker, you have freaking undead, necromancy, zombies, White Walkers in Game of Thrones now. So, yeah, absolutely. You got to check it out, man. And Game of Thrones is one of the best series of all time. I don't think you have to be a purist on just one series. Just say, like, I only like this series, and that's how it is forever. I will not watch any other series. That's stupid. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of good stuff out there, and but there are very few series that are as good as Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead, for example. Two of the best ever, in my opinion, that have ever been on. But that's for me and my taste and what I like. Matthew Gilligan says, a great episode, as solid of a premiere as you can have. Can't wait for the rest of the season. Very true. Davidson said, as much as I like your Walking Dead videos, I love Game of Thrones so much more. And I get that, man. You know, that's totally cool, Dave. And for everybody else, too. If you guys prefer Game of Thrones to The Walking Dead, hey, you're not going to get any arguments from me. I know. Game of Thrones is amazing. It's incredible. It's hard to compare any series to Game of Thrones. But we also have to keep in mind, Game of Thrones hasn't done as many episodes as shows like The Walking Dead. They took their time. They were able to take a year off or take a year and a half to finish these seasons. They're shorter seasons. But when Game of Thrones is on, it's one of the most epic series that's ever been on TV. Like I remember Oberyn versus The Mountain, for example. And when that hit, I mean, the buzz for that episode, Battle of the Bastards, the buzz for that, I mean, it's unbelievable, right? It's not everybody's looking forward to so much. So Game of Thrones is like an event type of series. When it hits, it's like a new movie release, like Avengers Endgame or something like that. That's the way I feel about Game of Thrones fans that have watched it through. It's an event. It's incredible. And, you know, same can be said for Walking Dead in a lot of ways. But Game of Thrones is more condensed. So you get more content faster. In 6 weeks or 7 weeks, you know, with season 8, you're getting extended episodes and no commercials, and they're an hour to 80 minutes runtime. So you're getting a lot of content quickly instead of 8 and then a break and then another 8 42-minute episodes. So it's its own type of animal, and when it's on, man, the buzz for it is incredible. I totally get what you're saying. We'll do a couple more for today. NN Gamer says, thank you, Trev, for all the videos throughout the years. Sad to see Thrones end, but I'm glad they decided to end it at their peak. And that's true, man, because a lot of people don't realize that we've seen the last couple years with The Walking Dead. It's going in the 10th year in the fall here. People get tired of stuff. People get tired of stuff, and they can reinvent it as much as they want. They can do different stuff like that, and I'm really happy Walking Dead is still ongoing, and it's going to run for another, you know, who knows how long, maybe another decade or so, based on what they're saying. And that'd be great if it does. Game of Thrones went the other approach, like Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad ended after 5 seasons. It was really like 6, though, because they split the last season into 2 years. You know, those series like that, where they're more focused on, we want to provide great quality in a short time span. We want to do it right. And we don't want to have the show go on running forever. It's a different take on things. There's pros and cons to both. On one hand, you get the most epic thing in a shorter period of time, and you get that quality over quantity. On the flip side of that, when it's over, a couple years later, nobody talks about it anymore. Nobody really talks about Breaking Bad anymore, hardly, unless Better Call Saul's on. Or they just talk about it as this great series that was on before, right? And so that's one downside of it, is that it's over and then that there's nothing. So unless they do a spinoff, which it sounds like they're going to do, you know, they kind of have to for the fan base. It's kind of sad that it's going to be ending, but it's going to have that quality. They went further towards the quality approach rather than the quantity. Both have their pros and cons, and it depends what you prefer. There's good and bad to both, right? Either way. Last one, Barbara Verzi says, never a boring season. It only got better and better. This final season will probably blow our minds, as the show does everything right, from acting, writing, directing, costume, set design, and awesome CGI. Hopefully the prequel story will ease the pain of losing it. And that's what we're saying, right? The amazing quality, but it's over. It's going to be over. You know, in a month or two, that's it. Game of Thrones is done. It's finished. So as much as we all enjoy it and everything, you can watch it back over. Its replay value is insane. It'll be over. So hopefully they've got something after that for the fans. Business-wise, you kind of have to, or you're a moron. If there's such a need, if there's so much demand there and you don't produce supply, you're kind of an idiot. You kind of have to do that, right? It's just the way of the world. It's the way things go. If a bunch of people are at a pep rally and nobody's selling water in bottles, well, you know, it's kind of stupid. You go there and chuck water bottles for $3 or something. People will be buying it like crazy if it's 100 degrees or something. And that's what it's like for Game of Thrones. When Game of Thrones ends, it's going to be, you know, 110 degrees outside, and there's going to be all these people there, and you're going to want to have a water tent, right? You're going to want to have that for people. So let's hope that the spinoff turns out good, and that we get to see it, you know, within another year or two. Even if it's 2 years, fine. Hopefully it's good, and hopefully people like it even half as much as they like Game of Thrones. So sad to see it go in the end, but we're going to have a great last month here as we roll through a little bit over a month. 5 episodes left, is it? Whatever we got left, to wrap up this amazing series. Let me know where you guys are at, and I'll see you back, of course, tomorrow night for another Game of Thrones review for episode 2, predictions for the following week, episode 3, discussion topics, all the good stuff. If you have any other questions for this week before we see the episode, maybe I could fit one more video in, but not sure. So let me know, leave a comment below, and thumb it up, share, favorite. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys again soon for another video. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.